Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, the show where, as always, we're hitting you with them elbows of knowledge, and we've got the UFC 107 recap for you. Macy Barber taking on Aaron Blanchfield. It may as well have been Gamrot taking on Ludovit Klein because we had some controversy in the main event. And as always, I'm here with my co-host, Carlos. What's happening, Carlos?
Absolutely nothing, brother.
And as always, we're going to break the whole entire card down for you, giving our reactions, talking a little bit about the results of this event, and kicking things off. We had a fight of the night in the early prelims. We had Ardelean taking on Rayanne de Santos, and I was happy for Ardelean. I was pissed off at myself that I didn't go with my gut instinct here of going with Ardelean. I thought that both of these women sucked, and as Carlos said, rightfully so on the breakdown, someone's O has got to go. And Santos, I think she's getting cut. That's 3 in a row now she's lost inside the UFC, and I think this fight pretty much just came down to the fact that Ardelean hits that little bit harder. I think that the power on display was what really got it done for her. And one thing I will give her credit for in this performance is she knows that she isn't the most talented fighter in the UFC, which is what I like that she said. She got on the mic. She knows what she is. She's this big TikTok star. She comes in. She puts on exciting fights. She said, I hope that the crowd enjoyed it. She lights up when things start to get scrappy in there. She's looking for a fucking fight. And our hats off to her. She got 50K bonus. Both ladies did. But I like the fact that she doesn't think that she's going to be this superstar. Like some people will go on the mic and say, oh, I'm going for a title shot. I want the belt. She knows what she is. She knows she's not that good, but she comes in and puts on entertaining fights and gets paid a lot more for putting on an entertainment fight. She's a company girl for that fact, and she put on a great performance, great fight of the night to kick the card off. Carlos, what did you think of the fight?
Yeah, she's always fun to watch. You know what I mean? She's gonna come in and she's gonna make it as ugly as possible, and you know that was a good job. She actually came in very good shape for this fight. Like I've seen her in past performances, and this one she was a lot leaner, and I just thought she was going to be ready to go. Dos Santos had a hard time believing that you were going to fight a girl you knew was going to push the pace and just try to stay in your face and pretty much just throw punches. That's all she kind of does. And you didn't even try to work on any wrestling to get it to the ground. You have some, from what we heard and what your record would suggest, some high-level jiu-jitsu, because almost everything is a submission victory for her victory, and you didn't even try to get it to the ground. You know what I mean? So I think you got what you deserve with that one, and good job to Ardelean.
Yeah, and even when Santos did try to mix in the grappling, it was such a half-assed effort. And I mean, I don't know if that was just because of the fact that she was, tired from getting bopped in the face by Ardelean, but I will say that, I agree with you. I think that she should have come out and implemented her grappling from the get-go. And once she started to actually try for takedowns, it was such a half-assed effort. I was just surprised. But fun fight, 50K for each woman, but 50K is going to be taken out of the UFC for Santos because I think that she's going to get cut. But good fight overall. And next up, we had Bolaji Oki getting the unanimous decision, 29-28 here against Aswell Jr. Aswell Jr. taking this fight on 3 days' notice. And I got a fucking bone to pick with Bolaji Oki, okay? And I said this to Carlos when this fight was done and they announced the winner. I think two things. One, Bolaji Oki obviously did what he was supposed to do. He came in, he got the victory, he pressured in rounds 2 and 3 to ultimately get the decision here, 29-28, right? But one thing I will say is I think he took the first round a little bit more measured to try and sort of get a feel for this new opponent that he obviously had taking this fight on 3 days' notice. One thing we always talk about is, short notice for the opponent. We don't ever talk about the fact that, the fighter coming in has now got a new opponent, so they have to implement a new game plan. So I think he kind of started off a little bit slow. Aswell looked good early. He had a great chin. He showed a lot of toughness, but like I said, Oki did what he was supposed to do. But the bone I want to pick with Bolaji Oki is he's sitting there, celebrating after the fight, and he's doing this stupid ass handshake, acting like he just had this great performance, the great walkout, the intense music and everything. And yet again, it's kind of just that lackluster performance. This guy who has aspirations, he's talked about, climbing up the ranks, being a champion, et cetera, et cetera. He's coming off of a loss, and each one of his wins kind of have that asterisk behind him where it's like, it wasn't that great of a performance. I think he's overrated. Minus 600 or something coming in. He did not look that big of a favorite. And I always hate when guys come in in and like, I would have preferred him just get on the mic and just been like, yeah, not necessarily my best showing, guys, obviously short notice opponent, kind of just keep it real. But he gets on the mic and, he's pointing at the camera and doing all this extra stuff, stupid ass handshake with one of his teammates. Not a big fan. I think he's overhyped, but he did what he was supposed to do. Maybe I'm a hater. Carlos, what did you think?
No, definitely. Like, I think they overrate his power very much, and the reason why I think that is because every time he hit this kid, his head just snapped back. Okay, and the kid had a good beard on him. Okay, the thing is with Oki is the way that he fights. He can fight like that all day because he doesn't really turn hard into anything that he throws. So the thing is, if he can learn to put some punches in combination like a Diaz brother, you know what I mean? Like those guys, they just throw light and they just let their hand snap out. I think you would have more success because he throws light all the time, but his light is pretty heavy. And when he sits on his punches, it's so measured that the guy could see it coming, so he got out of the way. And his other opponents in the past as well. So what he's got to do is throw in combination a little bit more, add a little bit more kicks, like he threw his knee in there a few times. Just mix things up so the guy doesn't just see your boxing coming. The other thing that was very, very obvious to see is he can fight like this all day. If you had a 10-round, 5-minute round fight, like he could do that. I think if you mix in wrestling, he is going to fade very quickly. And the next time he fights someone like a Chris Duncan, because that's what took him out. He didn't even see that submission coming or the takedown. And he fights somebody that's a grappler, they're going to wear on him. And that's going to take a lot out of his gas tank because I just don't think he likes to grapple. And, a lot of wrestlers don't like to do that in their fights because it takes a lot of the energy out of them. But if you force him to grapple, it'll make him tired. He's going to make mistakes. But he got the job done last night because he was pressuring him. He was a lot bigger than his opponent. And, on short notice, Aswell, he came forward. He was ready to go to war. He was actually stinging Oki too, which defensively, if you're ready for a fight and you're ready to strike, you can't let someone that comes in on 3 days' notice just have those open shots on you. So there's a lot of upside to him. It's just the fact that the way he's been fighting kind of exposed last night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to say as well, no shame in that. I saw his coach like consoling him after the fight saying, 3 days notice, man, like no camp, like et cetera, et cetera. Like the kid's a full-time student from what I was hearing on Contender Series too. So hats off to him, man. Like at the end of the day, he came in on 3 days notice. He had a good show and he showed a lot of toughness, a lot of grit. He was catching Oki in the first round. So I don't necessarily think it was a bad look for him. I think it's a bad look for Oki. And I agree with Carlos's sentiment. I think his power's overrated. I think that he's a little bit overrated overall. And he was one of the legs in our confident parlay. So he got it done for us, but he's not immune to criticism. That's for sure. And next up, we had one of the performances of the night. We had Jordan, the Monkey King Leavitt, getting the Anaconda choke in the first round. And I got to say, Ben, I was confident in Leavitt. He was one of our legs in our big parlay this week for our best bets video. That cashed for a third time in a row, our big parlay hit. And hats off to Jordan Leavitt, man. I think he's deserving of this 50K bonus. He came out, he got the very early takedown. He got right into a dominant position. He got the Anaconda choke, and he slept Kurt Holobaugh first round. And, he gets on the mic with DC, puts him on the spot. He does the worm, in his zesty manner that he has. But hats off to Jordan Leavitt, man. He came in. I didn't expect it to be that way. I thought it was going to be a 3-round grinding decision, kind of a lot of takedowns and a lot of control on top. But he was able to get the submission. Kurt Holobaugh's a black belt. He's no slouch when it comes to the jiu-jitsu. But I had pretty high confidence here in Leavitt. That's why he was in our confident parlay this week. And I was just surprised he made it look as easy as he did. I was expecting it to be easy, but not this easy. So 50K bonus for the Monkey King. Carlos, what did you think of the performance overall?
I thought he was going to get the submission. I just didn't think it was going to be that quickly. Holobaugh is usually pretty good off his back. I think he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt as well. So I didn't expect it to be that quickly. But, Jordan's wrestling is a lot more high level compared to Holobaugh. But I was just kind of surprised that on the mic, he thought he wasn't a contender. Is that what I was getting? Like, he goes, now I realize that this is not just a job. And I'm like, Yeah, he's got good ability. Like, is his stand-up great? No, but it's good enough to get close, and that's what he needs. And that's why I was kind of surprised that I mean, sometimes it just clicks for you and you realize, you know what, I can compete with these guys. And maybe that's the night that he had going into this. But yeah, I wasn't surprised. I knew he could get the job done. I just didn't think it was going to be that fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Hats off to him. 50K well earned. Next up, oh man, this one's going to get me heated. We had the dog of the week, Jafel Filho, man. I mean, you just talk about letting the fucking side down here. I mean, if your volume's up high, turn it down, ladies and gentlemen, because this might get a little bit heated. But Allan Nascimento was able to get the decision here, rounds 2 and 3, unanimous decision here against Jafel, the pastor Filho. And talk about giving the fight away. Jafel Filho comes out early round 1. He was able to mix in the striking, ultimately got the takedown. He was able to get 2 or 4 takedowns early in the first round, dominant top control. Didn't land a whole lot of ground and pound, but clearly wins the first round. Comes out second round, implements the same game plan, gets the takedown, and then gets a little bit too high on the back, trying to go for the get the hooks in and try and go for the rear naked choke, and gets reversed. He's a little bit too high, and from all there, it was one-way traffic. Allan Nascimento just lay and prayed all the way until the final bell. In round 2, obviously finished that round on top, won the second round. And in round 3, it was pretty much the same. I think Allan Nascimento knew if he could just get on top that Jafel Filho wasn't going to be able to get off the bottom position. And for both guys, I got to say, I said this to Carlos, like I think I looked at the stats, and I'm pretty confident in saying that both guys didn't even land more than 35 significant strikes combined. And I said in my Dog of the Week video, for those that didn't tune in, and I said the keys to victory here for Jafel is he's the better fighter everywhere. He's a better wrestler, as he showed in the first round. He's the more aggressive. He's the better striker. His cardio in terms of the layoff for Allan Nascimento is better. The one thing he can't do is play pure jiu-jitsu with Allan Nascimento, because I think that he's a little bit better in the scrambles. So what did he do? He came in, he played pure jiu-jitsu. Very, very frustrating. I think that he gave that fight to Allan Nascimento. Both guys didn't do enough damage in the transitions as well, especially early round 1. I was saying to Carlos, and we were talking about this early before we hit play on the record button, but when he was in dominant positions, Jafel wasn't landing strikes, and even the commentary team was saying, you've got wrist control, you need to let your hands go, throw some elbows. And I even, said on my Dog of the Week video how he would throw strikes in between those transitions and in between positions when he gets to dominant positions. He wasn't looking to do enough damage. I think that would have served him well. I think that they had a little bit too much respect for each other, hugging in the fucking third round. I don't know what that's all about. I hate that shit. Stop doing it. Fight each other. You can hug afterwards. And Jafel Filho, man, you really let the side down. And I think he threw that one away. I'm not even going to sit here and say that if this fight happened again next week, I'd still bet Jafel Filho, because he clearly was the better fighter. I think he just made an error which cost him the fight. So right at that top position in round 2, you win rounds 1 and 2, you win the decision. But I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. Carlos, what do you think of the fight?
Well, I'm a little upset because this was the first fight that made me lose my parlay. So Filho is better than, Nascimento in every aspect of fighting and had more ways to win. He just chose to go the way that was the most difficult. And, it happens. Sometimes people have, I don't know, sometimes people are stupid and they want to, challenge themselves and ego maybe. I have no idea why he did that. But when your corner's telling you to create some separation and that creating some space is going to, improve your chances of winning, that's what you got to try to do. And he just decided to play jiu-jitsu with him, and it cost him. But, Nascimento, good control on the top. His top pressure must be very good, very, very heavy. And his transitions, he knows exactly where his opponent's going. And, that's, he's well educated on the ground. And I think everybody knew that going into this. And Filho's very educated on the ground as well. It's just sometimes, mix things up, make the fight easier for yourself. So, yeah, I got nothing else to say.
Yeah. And like Carlos just said, mix things up, which is exactly what I said in my Dog of the Week video, key to victory. Mix it up. He didn't decide to do that. He decided to lay on his back and get decisioned, which was pathetic. And I made a whole highlight reel tape for you, and you decided to...
It would have been great if he even took a beating. Like, he just got snuggled for the last 2 rounds. Like, there was no strikes, no nothing. He just position, and...
I would rather pick a guy as my dog of the week, make a whole highlight tape, big hoo-ha, keys to victory, and him come out and get slept in the first round because he wasn't the better fighter. I'd rather him get out-skilled or out-dominated for the whole 3 rounds than him look fantastic and just make one boneheaded decision and lose the fight based on that boneheaded decision. But I digress. And one fight that no one really gives a fuck about, let's just be honest. Ketlen Vieira taking on Macy Chiasson. Ketlen Vieira was able to get the job done. She was able to come out, get the takedowns in the fight, a lot of top control. Macy Chiasson was able to kind of fight back a little bit in the late 3rd round, but too little, too late. Ultimately, one of the things I will say is I didn't realize Ketlen Vieira had to change the weight of this fight because she couldn't make weight and they agreed on it. So she may have come in a little bit heavier than Macy Chiasson. They said maybe like 10 pounds. And I think that's definitely a big advantage in this style matchup because Ketlen Vieira is a very physically big, strong woman, which is why I did pick her here. I do think that Macy Chiasson is big for the division with her height, but she's not necessarily as physically strong and as physically dense. I think that played a factor in getting the takedowns here. But ultimately, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And Macy Chiasson decided to say, hey, yeah, sure, we'll take this fight. Even though she said that she'd cut 2 pounds short of what the weight limit was going to be. She only had 2 pounds left to cut. Ketlen was like 10 pounds off of it, and they agreed to the fight, so that's what happened. But Ketlen getting it done here as an underdog. I did pick her. I know Carlos picked Macy Chiasson, but not necessarily a great fight. Not necessarily a fight that was worth talking too much about. And we had the over 1.5 to round out our confident parlay, which hit again for a 3rd week in a row. Check out our best bets here on the Ground and Pound podcast. Carlos, what do you think of the fight?
What I think of the fight is Macy in the last, I think, 10, 20 seconds of the 3rd round. The aggression that she showed there, she probably should have showed it in rounds 1, 2, 3, somewhere in between there. And she decided to wait till then. So, yeah, this wasn't an impressive fight. I had a feeling Vieira was going to just bully her and take her down and probably just stay in her face like she did with the striking. But when you see all that length and all that reach and the movement that Chiasson has, you feel like, okay, she's gonna have an opportunity to create that separation, to use the length. No, she didn't do any of that, so I'm good.
Yeah. And the commentary, to your point, the commentary team was saying in the last 20 seconds, and Macy Chiasson showing some aggression here, showing some of her frustration in her performance. Well, how about showing some frustration in round 1 when the woman who you're now fighting lost weight, didn't want to cut weight, and you're frustrated at the fact that you had to suffer and cut weight? How about showing the frustration then, not 20 seconds from the end when you're about to lose a decision? How about that? Fucking stupid.
Well, obviously she has 1 punch power. It's all it takes for her. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So.
It's the aerodynamics of the haircut. I don't know, but speaking of haircuts, there's receding hairlines all over this fight, but this one was fucking boring as well. Let's just be real. Both guys should be cut. I'm going to be pretty much a Simon Cowell Russian judge on a lot of these, but Zach Reese looked terrible. Dustin Todorovic looked terrible. For some reason, all of a sudden, Dusko Todorovic wanted to guillotine Zach Reese. He kept on trying to attempt the guillotine. It was never really in. Zach Reese kept on deciding whether he wanted to be a jiu-jitsu nerd or implement the wrestling that he's supposedly been working on 4 or 5 times a week. Both guys look terrible, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think that this just goes to show that the level of fighting talent inside the UFC sometimes can be a little bit construed. I think both guys should be cut. They're not going anywhere. Both guys look terrible. That's what I have to say about this fight. Carlos, what do you think?
I got to agree with you on that. I think Todorovic is actually he's done. You know what I mean? For the UFC, I think he's not going to get any better. I don't think he's going to move up the ranks anymore. And Zachary Reese here, I think his Contender Series fight was against the human punching bag there, right? What was that kid's name? He got cut out of the UFC too. The thing is like he's had some cool knockouts and that's great against guys that he should beat, but he's not going to beat anybody high level. Like he said, he was working on his wrestling. Did it look like he worked on his wrestling? Did it look like he was that good on the ground? No. And his stand up, he was landing some shots. Does it look like he's that much more elite than Todorovic? I actually still think Todorovic is better than him, which if I think Todorovic should be out the door, I think Reese should be going with him. So, yeah. This entire card has been just a little boring, You know, like we had flashes of something maybe 2 or 3 times, but this night was actually one of those nights where you're like, these fights aren't that great.
Yep. Yep. Send them to the Diddy party. Throw the bums in jail. That's what I say.
Well, that's a bit much. Nobody
Maybe.
needs the baby oil.
Maybe so, but one bright spark we do have to talk about. Dustin Jacoby was able to get the first round knockout here against Lopes, and I got to say this one surprised me a little bit. I thought this was going to be a pretty close fight. I text Carlos that during this hand raising moment here for Dustin Jacoby. He was able to come out. He landed a stiff jab which rocked Lopes, kind of took him off his feet, made him stumble, and from there he smelled blood in the water and he took advantage of it. And no 50K bonus for Dustin Jacoby, but he looked impressive, man. I think this was worthy of a bonus. Obviously now coming off of 2 knockout wins, his 3rd round knockout of Petrino. Now he's obviously got this 1st round knockout of Lopes, and he's taking on these contenders. Give him a ranked opponent, get him back in the rankings, getting back up there. Dustin Jacoby, 37 years old, making it look easy. And Carlos, what did you think of the performance? Did it surprise you at all with the Lopes chin?
It didn't surprise me because I know that Jacoby can do that. The thing that got me was like I assumed that maybe Lopes would find another way to get this maybe to the ground or find a way to slow him down. But, it just didn't work out for him. Now, what I found funny was they said Jacoby has taken out 2 top Brazilian prospects in his last 2 fights. I understand why one was a prospect, but Bruno, he's just a guy from Brazil that's fighting. He's not a huge Brazilian prospect. You know what I mean? Yes, he won his, what was that guy's name that he beat?
Gagiazulov.
Gagiazulov.
Yeah.
He beat him. And should he have won that fight? With the talents of Gagiazulov, I'm like, no, I thought Lopes should have lost. But for some reason, I felt he should have won that night. This night, I go, maybe he's going to find a way to create, to create problems for Jacoby, and it just didn't work out. And the way he got put out was just funny, and I enjoyed it. And this was one of the big joys of the night. I love seeing guys get dropped like this. And Lopes will be back, but Jacoby, I don't know where you go from here, but we'll see.
A lot of hate for the Brazilians on this card, and rightfully so, because they let the team down. Lopes, your chin let Carlos down. Jafel, Filho, you let us down, man. But, we know that the Brazilians will come back strong, but they weren't strong on this card, that's for sure. And one individual that was strong, performance of the night bonus for Brahimaj, and I gotta toot my own horn a little bit here. I saw a lot of people on YouTube were picking Billy Ray Goff as the huge favorite here, and I loved Brahimaj here. I thought, honestly, I was surprised that he was such a big underdog. I know Carlos said the same thing. He was really surprised when I would mention the odds to him when we were talking about it on the full card breakdown, that he came in and he looked like he should have been the big favorite. He came in, implemented his game plan, backed Billy Ray Goff up against the fence, shot him for the takedown. He looked to try and take the back and get the takedown. He got him down. Billy Ray Goff got back up. And ultimately, when Billy Ray Goff switched positions and went in for his own takedown, Brahimaj was able to get that power guillotine, 50K bonus. And I was just happy for him, man. I like the fact that he gets on the mic. He talks about, believing in himself. He talks about being a big underdog. He talks about how, he's coming off of 2 performances, and DC was the one that made him believe that he could, be something in the division. He's come back healthy after an eye tumor. He had an eye tumor which burst. He had to get that sorted. He talked about his neck and spinal injury, which he had to come back from. And his hands look good in the Mickey Gall fight, and he shows you that his grappling and his wrestling is there, that he's been training with Bilal Muhammad, and his grappling's always been there for submissions. So I think he's a problem. I think people underestimated him, and he's another bet that we hit for our best bets this week. We had him plus 3.5, which was plus money. It didn't even make it to the judges' scorecards because he was able to cash outright with the submission in the first round. So another bet we were able to hit this week. And I'm not going to try and do an impression of the New Yorker, but the New Yorker, he gets it done. But paces in 6 for all of you New Yorkers talking shit in the comments. But Carlos, what do you think of the performance in the fight?
I thought he did a great job. One of the things I was a little nervous about was I thought that he was going to come in and try to be in love with stand-up, because that's what happens to a lot of grapplers. Sometimes they get a knockout and then they just want to stand up and see if they could do it again. He implemented the plan. He threw some strikes. Whenever he saw the opening for the submissions, he went for it. I mean, that's how you fight. That's mixed martial arts, and Filho could take a lesson from this and try to figure out how to win his next fight because somebody that talented should be mixing it up like this. But back to this fight, I feel like he did everything he was supposed to, and I knew that he would be a problem on the ground, for Goff. But like I said, I thought that maybe he was going to try to stand with him a little bit more. I love the fact that he played to his strengths, and yeah, I can't wait to see Brahimaj, who he's going to get next.
Yeah, 2 finishes in a row now for him. So we'll see what what the UFC holds for him and what matchup he gets next. But hats off to him, 50K bonus, getting it done. And that brings us to the co-main event, and obviously Mateusz Gamrot being able to get it done with the wrestling. We knew that was going to be the game plan coming in, as it always is. Ludovit Klein's 90% takedown defense didn't hold true, and they made a good point on the broadcast, as what Gamrot said in the media day was, he's not fought a wrestler like me, and that's true. I fell into that game plan. That's why I picked Klein. I thought he was going to be able to keep this fight standing, and what I was a little bit disappointed with was the fact that the third round, Klein was able to get at space, keep the fight in the middle of the octagon, and be able to stuff a lot of the takedowns. But he didn't implement that game plan, in rounds 1 and 2. So he was playing catch up. He was always on the back foot, and he was able to even drop Gamrot a couple of times in the first round, and in the third round, he was able to land a couple of nice shots. I would have liked to have seen him kind of have a little bit more urgency in round 1. And even in the round 3, he ended up getting taken down, but he was always on the back foot. He was always fighting against the current here. And Gamrot was able to smother him 30-27 for the decision. Hats off to Gamrot. He did what he was supposed to do. Still in the back in the win column, still in the rankings. And Ludovit Klein's got to, kind of test himself here against a higher level guy. And he didn't pass that test. So back to the drawing board for him. But Carlos, what did you think of the performance? And hats off for this pick here for Gamrot.
Well, I did pick Gamrot to win this one just because, sometimes his wrestling could be overwhelming. His striking actually started out pretty good, and he looked to be the better on the feet early in the fight. And Klein is good. He does have a decent ground game. I thought he was going to be able to at least get back to his feet and make this fight a little messy for Gamrot. But Gamrot was able to implement his game and just smother him and keep him where he needed him to be. And it was complete domination pretty much in this fight. I don't think Gamrot was in much trouble even when he got tagged a couple times. I don't think he was still in any danger. But, Gamrot did exactly what I thought he would do. Anybody who did bet on Klein, I mean, he was a live dog in this. You didn't know how his wrestling was going to fit into this game plan. So, I mean, you got to take a chance when you see it. But unfortunately, Gamrot put an end to a lot of parlays and picks that night.
Yep. And that brings us to the main event that wasn't, ladies and gentlemen. The main event getting canceled 6 minutes before the end of the fight card here. I believe Aaron Blanchfield was actually getting ready to walk out. I did hear on the word on the grapevine that Volkanovski said that he would offer to step in on 6 minutes notice to face Aaron Blanchfield, but that obviously offer didn't get taken up here. But obviously the fight getting canceled, very disappointing end to the fight card. They said that what I read this morning was Macy Barber had a seizure prior to her walking out, which is why the event or the fight got cancelled. So all we obviously could do is just sit and speculate on her future as far as what she's going to do. I know she had a lot of health issues before, previously in the past, so it's held her back previously in her career. Aaron Blanchfield's not interested in running it back, rightfully so. Her coach has said to her that she's not on her level, and I think Aaron Blanchfield needs to kind of look on and upwards in the division. Maybe a fight against Alexa Grasso would be a good matchup. Maybe a fight against Natalia Silva for the number 1 contenders fight would be a good matchup for her. But ultimately, a very disappointing end to the card. And like Carlos said earlier, a lot of controversy, a lot of sort of boring elements to this fight. And this kind of rounded off what was a shitty Apex card. And people in the UFC always talk about, the MMA fans. They're always talking about, oh, I hate women's, main events. I hate it. Well, we didn't even get to see this one, which is even worse. So they got what they wanted. A lot of people said that Gamrot and Klein should have been the main event. they got what they wanted. And were you happy? Probably not. So one thing I did hear on the word of the grapevine is that they've decided to put Macy Barber at UFC 320 as the main event. They've got Macy Barber taking on 100 gorillas. I've just got news on the word of the grapevine here about some of the matchups that they've got in that fight. They've announced Laura Sanko's taking on a ring girl with a new Bikini Venom fight kit. So obviously always a pointless women's fight on any card, any pay-per-view. So that's kicking off that card. You've got Tom Aspinall taking on the UFC Lawyers. We don't even need to explain that one. We already know why Tom's taking on the UFC Lawyers. We've got John Jones rounding out the prelims, taking on Accountability. I wonder who's going to win in that one. And kicking off the main card, we have Chris Taioni taking on Sets of Lego. I've heard that Lego's got a great ground game. Obviously, my money's on the Lego there because Chris Taioni's absolutely useless. And then obviously in the main card, we have Dana White taking on his wife. You know that they like to kick off the main card, usually with a very lopsided showcase bout. So obviously we got Dana taking on his wife there. And the co-main event, Mario Batista taking on Francis Ngannou. And as I said, the main event for that UFC 320, hot off the press here on the Ground and Pound podcast. We got Macy Barber taking on 100 gorillas. So yeah, that's going to be UFC 320. Carlos, what did you think of this cancellation in the shit show of a card?
Well, I mean, it kind of just went along with how the rest of the card went. I think they had 2 other fights fall out this week, and they had a couple substitutions, and people missing weight, people changing weight classes. The performances weren't stellar. Like, you don't have to have every fight has to be great, but you got to have a couple of good ones in there. And Jacoby actually made it a little bit fun just to watch a beating take place. But other than that, this was kind of a boring fight. And with all the changes and all the cancellations, I still stayed up to watch it. Why? Because I will watch all fights. But the problem is you took it away. I did pick Macy Barber to win this. I didn't know if she could pull it off. Aaron Blanchfield, I figure like when Macy gets in her face, she's gonna, push forward and try to be the aggressor too, because Blanchfield's kind of a dog. She tries to get in your face, but I don't know. Maybe Barber's a little too big for this weight class. Who knows? Maybe she should go up. Maybe she's not going to have as many health problems there, but she won't be as big. So, that's up to her to figure it out. But at the face-off, she looked fine. She didn't look like she came in bad shape or anything. She looked pretty good. And I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, but hopefully she gets better and can cancel another main event. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Hopefully she can dangle the carrot in front of our face a little bit more and we can all jump for joy at it. But yeah, I'm right there with you, man. This card was a little bit skeptic. It was obviously full of holes, not necessarily the best from the UFC. So hopefully we can start a petition here on the Ground and Pound podcast for UFC 320, 100 gorillas taking on Barber. Hopefully that gets as much backing as the Tom Aspinall Strip John Jones belt petition that's been going around. But yeah, thank God for UFC 316 next week. That's all I can say with Sean O'Malley. And speaking of UFC 316, we have the full card breakdown coming to you guys. Check out, that's going to be coming out on Monday for UFC 316. O'Malley taking on Merab Dvalishvili. And happy to see this one. Pay-per-view, great card, stack card. Carlos and I are going to break the whole thing down, giving our detailed breakdown as always. And straight to the point picks. We got my quick picks video coming out. It's 15 minutes or less. All of my picks in under 15 minutes with a confident level traffic light system. If you don't have time for the full card breakdown, check out that video. That video is for you. And as always, my dog of the week video. It's going to be a sweet one. It's my favorite betting underdog for each and every card. Hopefully we can get back in the win column here, and I think we can. If you've got a sweet tooth, I think you're going to like that one. But Carlos, before we wrap things up, let them know, what do they got to do each week?
Well, you got to tune in, you got to like and subscribe, and hopefully you're going to like the content we're giving you.
Yep. Amen. You heard the man. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Peace.